In 1954, the Supreme Court handed down the landmark decision that outlawed racial segregation of children in all public schools in the United States. The court determined that separate but equal was unacceptable. This was a good decision, right? Yes, it was, but according to congressional testimonies and transcripts, this decision also terminated the careers of generations of highly qualified and credentialed black teachers and principals. Black educators were fired, demoted, or dismissed, and were not hired in the integrated school system. In the Deep South and northern border states, black schools were closed and black educators were displaced, not because they were not qualified, but because those in power wanted to avoid white students being taught or led by black educators. Ironically, the black educators were often replaced with less qualified white educators. An example of this unfair policy is the story of a 39-year-old Louisiana principal and father of two who was demoted from a principal to a fourth grade classroom teacher under a white principal when his all-black school was closed. He was initially hired as a janitor at the previously all-white school and was required to put out chairs in the auditorium, put chalk in each classroom, toilet tissue in the boys' bathroom, and pick up paper from the lawn before being transferred to a fourth grade teaching position. Because of the loss of salary, he had to supplement his income by working in a sawmill for minimum wage, which was $1.60 per hour. After encouraging his students to stay in school so they could get their education and make a decent living, it was discouraging to be working alongside students who he had mentored in his school as principal and role model. Educators were not the only ones affected by the court's decision. Many black children were forced to attend schools where they were not wanted. In that environment, it had to be difficult for them to do their best. Additionally, the leadership, curriculum, teaching, and funding was almost exclusively controlled by white hands. The curriculum experienced by the students was exclusively white in authorship, imagery, and content. Does this sound familiar? There is so much more to this story. If you'd like to learn more, please read Jim Crow's Pink Slip, The Untold Story of Black Principal and Teacher Leadership by Dr. Leslie T. Fenwick, Dean Emerita of the School of Education and a Professor of Education Policy at Howard University. A special thanks to all the educators of color, then and now, for encouraging, inspiring, and teaching generations of our young people.